Alright, so yesterday when I was about to go to sleep, I opened up my phone. I opened up my YouTube to see if there was anything worth watching, like I usually do. And I came across this video, posted by Nin10doland. And if you don't know who that is, he's basically just the dude who can't shut up about Switch 2. But I feel like everybody watching this video already knows that. And I am pretty confident in saying that this is one of the worst Luigi's Mansion 2 videos I have watched in a very long time. Which is a crazy thing to say, because I have watched a lot of bad Luigi's Mansion 2 videos. But this is definitely one of the worst ones. And I know that all of this stuff is kind of opinion based. If he doesn't like the game, I mean, that's fine by me, I don't care. But some of the stuff that he says in the video is just straight up wrong. And as the self-proclaimed Luigi's Mansion 2 god, I am not letting this slide. Let's just get straight into it, because we're gonna be here for a while.
It was a completely different formula and changed what made the original so great. The creepy, scary, open-endedness of Luigi's Mansion was now changed to a mission-based, less creepy, new version of the game we all know and love. Just 4 years later on the Nintendo Switch for us to get Luigi's Mansion 3, which to me is my favorite in the trilogy and one of the best games I've ever played from Nintendo.
So I'm just gonna say this right now because it's Nin10doland. This man loves Luigi's Mansion 3 to death. But for me, Luigi's Mansion 3 is my least favorite Luigi's Mansion game. Simply because the combat is really boring. Like, sure, it's funny to slam things across the room, but it's a ghost. It should not take damage from being slammed on the floor. And this makes the combat easier than ever. Because you can just stunlock ghosts with multiple slams, and it becomes really boring. I'm sorry, it just gets boring. And that's not a problem with Luigi's Mansion 2, or even the first game.
But with that said, Luigi's Mansion 2 would see the light one more time, as it comes out as a remaster on Nintendo Switch years after Luigi's Mansion 3. We now go back to the black sheep of the franchise, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, well now deemed Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. And today I wanted to dive back to really see, is this game really that bad?
Quick answer to that question:
No.
It is not a bad game. And I also don't think it deserves the title of Black Sheep. Sure, it is different than Luigi's Mansion 3 and the first game, but the word Black Sheep kinda has a stinky reputation nowadays. And I hate when people hear that a game is called a Black Sheep. A game that is too different and therefore it's bad. Like, I hate that. If people hear the word Black Sheep, they think, oh, it's the bad one. Like, no. It is different, but it's not bad.
Every day online, I see a lot of people place this game in the same category as others like Yoshi's New Island, Hey Pikmin, Metroid Prime Federation Force, and even The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. So is Luigi's Mansion 2 really that bad?
Again, no, it is not bad. And compared to every other game that you just mentioned, Luigi's Mansion 2 on the 3DS sold well. It sold twice as more as the first game on the GameCube. And you should be thankful that it sold well. Otherwise, your beloved Luigi's Mansion 3 probably never existed.
Now, graphically and performance-wise, this is a hard game to talk about because we are not talking about just the original game here, but the actual remaster from the original game. So, leave Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon out of your mind for right now. This specific segment is for the remaster. So, let me tell you right now, this game is kind of ugly. I know lots of assets have been changed, lots of assets have been moved around and flipped around and, you know, obviously replaced with maybe some better looking assets and spots. But comparing to another game on the same console, it's really bad, and that game being Luigi's Mansion 3.
Oh my f***ing god, bro, how many times do we need to tell you this? Stop comparing Luigi's Mansion 2 HD to Luigi's Mansion 3. It is not Luigi's Mansion 3 and it will never be.
Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the most technically impressive games on the Switch, and I think even just recently won an award for it being so technically impressive.
Well, maybe that's because Luigi's Mansion 3 was specifically designed with the Switch hardware in mind, because they wanted to show off the hardware. Meanwhile, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD was just ported to the Switch at the end of its lifespan for people who wanted to have it on a better console.
As the original game holds up very well on a handheld 3DS, this game feels like it's still a 3DS game. There's a lot of rooms and areas where I feel like it still just looks like a 3DS game. Lots of the assets are plasticky and blocky around the edges, and even some of the spider webs are just big papery looking objects that just kind of look strange still.
Okay, this is actually something that I kinda agree with. Like, everything else he said about everything being blocky, that's what I don't care about, because that's its art style. But I do think they could have at least made the spiderwebs less papery. Like, that's one thing that I agree with, but it's not a big deal actually.
One big complaint when the game came out that still plagues the original on the 3DS is the game is just a little too bright. There's too many situations where it feels like it needs to be creepy or is trying to be creepy, and there's just too much light coming in.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a tutorial on how to make your room darker. The first thing you gotta do is pause the game, go to the options, and there it is. Oh my god, what a feature, a brightness meter. Oh my god. I never knew that was in the game. Thanks Nin10doland's for this great feature that nobody knows exists apparently.
And it's actually very funny that this is a complaint of mine because I'm a type of person who really doesn't care about this stuff. I don't care about the graphics and the way a game runs. As long as it runs smooth and there's no hiccups, I'm normally good to go.
Then why are you complaining? That it doesn't look like Luigi's Mansion 3?
And I honestly felt like one of the biggest problems is that it comes after Luigi's Mansion 3. Luigi's Mansion 3, being the technical marvel that it is, should not be followed up with a game that came before it and looks worse and runs worse. It just doesn't make sense.
I can give you an example of another Nintendo franchise where the exact same thing happened, which is Pikmin. Is it really that big of a problem at the end of a console's lifespan when we know that another console is literally, according to your videos, right around the corner?
Now, before I dive into the gameplay and the meat of the game, I thought I'd talk about the story real quick because there's not much to talk about. It's a very simple ghost story.
Simple? You're telling me that this game has a pretty simple ghost story? You're literally on a quest to repair a giant purple glowing moon that pacifies ghosts that are threatening to open a portal that can literally rip apart the entire universe. That's simple to you? Compared to Luigi's Mansion 1 and 3, oh boy, I want a mansion, but it's apparently haunted and my brother is stuck inside it, I gotta go find him. Oh boy, I'm going on a nice vacation, but oh shoot, the hotel is run by ghosts. My family and friends got kidnapped. I wanna go save them, but I don't wanna do that. Let's get the fuck out of here. Let your friends and family perish. And in fact, I think Luigi's Mansion 2 has the best story. Just... anybody agree with me here?
And they don't even really explain in-game how did King Boo get out. I know there's some dialogue, I think eventually, that does explain it, but they don't really talk about it during the basis of the story, how King Boo's here.
He gets sold his painting to a random person. And that person is probably dead once the game starts.
How did he get Mario? Where did Mario get captured? When did Mario get captured? How come Luigi doesn't know about this? It's just kind of like all happening randomly, just for the sake of it telling a story that no one really cares about.
Just because you don't care about the story doesn't mean that nobody cares about it. Like, this game has fans. Like, do you realize that?
I think one of the main reasons this story isn't very interesting is due to the fact that there's no portrait ghost in this game.
I saw this coming from a mile away, like, holy shit, there is no Luigi's Mansion 2 video without mentioning that there is no portrait ghosts and telling that this game is trash.
Now, I want to go through each and every single mansion in great detail and talk about them on a gameplay standpoint and talk about what I thought about each one and the mission structure of each one, which you can probably guess where that's going. but I want to start talking about all that stuff with, of course, the first mansion in the game, the Gloomy Manor. This location is a small kind of tutorial mansion to get you started. It is a mansion after all, very similar to the first game, but a lot smaller and a lot less detailed with a lot less rooms as well. It is essentially just a lesser version of the first game's mansion, just to a very small scale.
Well, maybe that's because if the Gloomy Manor was just as big as the original mansion and had the exact same amount of playtime spent in it, that would make the game way too long. Because there are multiple mansions for you to go explore. And the player knows that because of the intro cutscene. And if every single mansion took the exact same amount of time to beat as the original game's mansion, that would make the game way too long. And look, I like when my games are long, but I don't like games that are too long.
And one thing you'll notice, of course, starting the game, like I just said, is there is a mission structure to this game. Which means you can't just freely roam throughout the mansion.
Does every game need to be Breath of the Wild nowadays?
And going through the same room, looking for the same treasure over and over again is very annoying. And yes, there are multiple times where you have to go back to past rooms in order to get a special golden bone.
I am convinced you didn't do any research for this video, because I'm about to explain to you how these gold bones work. First of all, they're not required at all. They just act like extra lives if you die in the mission, and if you don't die in the mission, they turn into 200 coins. But basically, the game tells you you can only find these gold bones if you have enough treasure, which is 200 gold. And once you have 200 gold in that mission, literally any piece of furniture can give you a gold bone. I feel like I should not be explaining this to you. You played Luigi's Mansion 3. You should know how the gold bone works.
Some mansions are big enough to give each mission its own rooms and dedicated areas, but something like the Gloomy Manor, which is overall a pretty small mansion, you'll be going through the same hallways with the same knights, the same bathrooms and bedrooms over and over and over again, to the point where it just gets annoying. You want to move on, see other things, go to new places, and this game just doesn't let you do that.
Sure, you may visit the room with the knights a lot, but it takes like 5 seconds to run through it. Like 5 seconds. And the bathroom is the only you only visit the bathroom in Gloomy Manor once. Except when you're going for all the gold greenies. And the same goes for the bedroom. You only go back there in mission 5 or if you want to get all the gems.
Like I said, this area serves as a tutorial for Luigi, first finding the poltergust itself, the new version that is, and then finding the strobe light and the dark light. This game actually adds something called the strobe light, which means you have to flash the ghosts before actually sucking them up. Not like that. The Gloomy Manners missions overall, at least the first like 3, are pretty boring.
You literally just said that missions that make you go back to previous rooms are the most boring ones. Which I do agree with, but I don't think the missions that make you do that are completely boring. And now, a few minutes later, you say the first 3 missions of Gloomy Manor are boring. While those 3 missions and the boss fights are the only missions in Gloomy Manor that make you explore new rooms. Literally, A-4 or A-5. Those are 2 missions where you go back to previous rooms to do something. The first 3 missions are literally exploring the Gloomy Manor. And you say that those are the boring ones.
You're just going through rooms, tracking down gear, and barely even fighting any ghosts.
No shit, Sherlock, it's the tutorial mansion. What do you expect from a tutorial mansion? It's supposed to teach you the basics.
The problem with these is a lot of these missions just feel like busy work and they don't make sense in the grand scheme of things. You'll literally have a mission where you need to suck up 43 spider webs in the mansion. Yes, it might feel satisfying to clear a room full of spider webs and at least they tell you what rooms have the web still, but it's just boring and it just doesn't make sense. I should be capturing ghosts and finding out where the heck Mario is, even though at this time I guess they don't know that Mario's captured, but still, my goal is to find the piece of the Dark Moon here and take out King Boo. Why am I sucking up spider web? My wife just got done playing through the first game and really enjoyed it, so she was very excited to start Luigi's Mansion 2, and when I told her what she actually had to do in this mission, she literally looked at me and said, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, babe, you have to clean up spiderwebs in this sequel. So for the love of God, please don't play it, you'll thank me later. Also, maybe don't spoil the game for someone next time.
I'd say if someone is going into this game, my biggest kind of advice that I could give is use the dark light in every single room throughout the entire room to make sure there's no hidden objects. Then you probably will never miss a boo.
Please, for the love of God, do not take his advice. As someone with over 100 hours into this game, and maybe even more on the 3DS, I can assure you that is not necessary. If you just pay attention to the walls and the floor, and just the rooms throughout the missions, you should be fine. Like, not all the treasure in the game is required to collect, and the boos are just hidden in random objects in most of the rooms. And a little tip, for most of the boos in this game, they're hidden in rooms from previous missions most of the time. So take that advice instead of using the dark light in every single square inch of the game. Like, please don't do that.
Something that I don't even know how I was able to forget from the Gloomy Manners, something that continued to bother me, however, moving into something that was a lot better with the Haunted Towers, which was EGAD. Yes, in this game, EGAD will call you unbelievable amounts. Like, seriously, every single mission, at least 5 or 6 times a mission, maybe even more than that in the beginning of the game, he will ring you every single time you do anything of importance. If you find a key, he'll call you. If you find a secret room, he'll call you. If you collect treasure, he'll call you. He will call you every single instance he has the opportunity to, which is just so annoying. It completely pauses the pace of the game. It's not like a quick dialogue box that you can just skip and move on.
That is exactly what it is. And bro didn't even mention the absolute banger that is EGAD's ringtone.
And this happens way too much in this game, so much so it genuinely made me verbally sigh every single time this happened, and I was already annoyed with it by the end of the first mansion. But that's just something that I had to throw out there because it's something that just definitely needed to stop, and thankfully in the third game it is something that's completely gone. This mansion, however, suffers from the same problem as the first one, being the mission structure, and it kind of making you go through past rooms over and over and over again instead of feeling like a progression of finding nothing but new rooms each mission.
Having to go through the same rooms over and over and over and over and over and over and stop over exaggerating things. You don't do that in this mansion. At least for the first 4 missions. Let me tell you something. The first mission, completely brand new mansion. The second mission, yes, your items get stolen by blue ghosts, but you still explore new rooms. Mission 3, you also explore new rooms. You explore the hollow tree and the graveyard behind it. Mission 4, you explore the left tower. The only padding mission in this mansion is the Polterpup mission.
The mid-boss of this mansion are the 3 sisters, and I think it's done absolutely horribly. You literally just have to let them roll around Luigi, and eventually they'll lower their mirrors, allowing you to flash one and have to capture one sister as the other 2 are trying to brutally attack Luigi. This is just really bad because in turn you're just pretty much going to have one of the sisters drag you and not even try to suck her up just to dodge the attacks of the others. Also, there's a whole hop you can do by pressing the B button, which isn't in any of the other 2 Luigi's Mansion games. And if I'm not mistaken, EGAD does not tell you about this move at all. He literally talks non-stop in this game, but never tells you that you have a little hop that you can do when sucking up a ghost. And it actually helps if you know this going into it. But if you don't, you're just going to keep getting blasted by the other sisters as you're trying to capture one of them, which, like I said, is just so annoying. Another new thing that this mansion throws at you for the first time is a Toad mission. These are not great.
I feel like the Toad missions in Luigi's Mansion 2 are some of the best escort missions I have ever played in a video game. Like, and that's not even me being biased. I actually had fun with them.
where you have to take a Toad all the way back to the teleporter in order to return him to the lab to Eat Gad, because Eat Gad sent these Toads out because he's an absolutely horrible boss. But yes, he sent these Toads just to pretty much get themselves captured, and you have to guide them as if they are literally small children, like babies at this point. Some Toads hate to walk in short water. Literally, ankle-high water they won't walk in, so you have to carry them over. Or some Toads don't like to walk on ice, so you have to carry them over. Some Toads are literally afraid of clocks, so you have to hold them the entire time. Thankfully, in the Haunted Towers, it wasn't too bad because there weren't too many ghosts or too many things that you had to do with Toad, because it was simply just take him to the teleporter. I promise you, these definitely become more and more annoying the further we get into this game. You start to feel like a babysitter, and a lot of the time, some of the things with Toad just simply doesn't work like it's supposed to.
You know, the funny part about this recording is that this is my second time watching this video. And if I remember correctly, he never goes in detail why he says that the Toad missions get worse over time. Like, he never said the other Toad missions are bad. So, I don't know what this dude is yapping about. He's just saying random things at this point, just to make the game look as bad as possible.
One mission I absolutely did not like, once again, is revisiting past rooms with the Polterpup chases. Polterpup will come in and take a key or some type of important item, and you'll have to circle through all the rooms that you've already visited, fighting ghosts in order to find Polterpup by just shining your dark light and following the paw prints. This means you'll be going through the same 10 rooms once again, over and over and over again. And by doing this, it really makes you feel like you're not making any new progress. You're not finding new locations. You're not experiencing new things. Instead, you're just stuck in the same set of rooms doing basic tasks like finding spider webs or looking for a dog. Yeah, that is a big gripe of mine with this game. It's just the repetitive nature of revisiting and revisiting and revisiting.
I already mentioned that the Polterpup missions should not take that long if you don't have the IQ of a blender, but something else you can do in these Polterpup missions, like you said before, missing gems is kind of annoying because you have to go back to those rooms to get it. Well, these Polterpup missions usually give you access to the entire mansion, so you can basically go back where you missed the gem in that Polterpup mission. It kinda gives you a chance to get those gems you missed, so I really don't see the downside of it.
It also has some pretty dark and creepy areas that we wouldn't see in the rest of the game. For instance, when you go underground into the catacombs where the mummies are, it gets very dark down there. So much so where you need fire in order just to see a couple feet in front of you. And this, to me, is Luigi's Mansion. Just pure darkness. I love that. As far as the theming for the rest of the place, when you're actually inside the clockworks above ground, it's nothing too impressive. It just looks like an abandoned factory, and there's really nothing to really catch my eyes or make me say, ooh, this is pretty unique. Yeah, it was just like a broken building with sand flowing in through the broken windows, and it never really went past the, oh, this looks like an abandoned factory or some type of abandoned mine. It never really went that interesting for me.
It never went past that because it literally is an abandoned factory. At this point, you're just being a hater. You're criticizing every little thing about this game. He literally, a few minutes ago, he said that this mansion has actually creepy parts that he liked. And then 1 minute later he says, oh, this mansion wasn't that interesting. Oh, buddy, it was just an abandoned factory.
The mini-boss of this area was just another poltergeist, which was very strange since we started with one, then we got this random three sisters, almost portrait ghost type of boss, now back to a poltergeist again, but this one's blue. So yeah, the whole theming around the ghost was a little strange here and just inconsistent. But this one was also pretty basic, where the poltergeist would just kind of twirl up a tornado and start chucking bombs at you, and it's your job to just dodge the bombs. It's very easy, and then flash him in order to capture him. Also, prior to fighting this mini-boss, if you're too busy collecting treasures and gold around the area, you're forced to listen and suffer through this absolutely horrible sound that this poltergeist makes. I hate it so much, and he doesn't shut up.
Just like you and your Switch 2 videos.
I mean, literally for like 2 or 3 straight rooms, you hear him groaning and moaning around, and I don't even understand why they thought this would be okay. There's no pause. It's the same sound looped over and over and over again. Like, take a listen.
Hey, man, I'm gonna show you a secret that nobody in the world knew. Did you know that the Switch comes with this revolutionary feature, which is called turning off the sound?
And then for the final boss of the Clockworks, unfortunately it wasn't really a boss, and like I said, after Haunted Towers, it just started to decrease, specifically for other players more than me.
I actually enjoyed the stairs boss fight and the clock tower boss fight. Like, is there anybody else watching this video who thinks these bosses are not that bad? Because I don't think they're that bad.
My biggest complaint, and one of my only complaints with this entire area, is the fact that there's only 3 main missions.
Throughout this entire video, he has been talking the mission structure so much in every single previous mansion. And now you want more missions.
Mission structure of each one, which you can probably guess where that's going.
Then that brings me to the main boss of the secret mine, and a lot of people hate this boss. I mean, it was infamous online when this game dropped originally on the 3DS, and people still hate it today, and it's one that I never could understand. I mean, honestly, I hate to say it, but it felt like a get good skill issue moment for a lot of people.
First of all, great insult,
Get good skill issue.
he says while he struggled and complained about the 3 sisters.
But you'll have to do so through 3 phases, but it's the 2 chase phases that really make this battle and really amped up my anxiety. Running through these dark hallways as drawers were swinging open and giant ice pillars were in the way and rotating escalators going up and down, it was a lot to pay attention to while also running from a giant rolling bowling ball King Boo, and it definitely freaked me out even today like it did back then on the 3DS when I was a child. It is extremely anxiety filling, and I love that, and it really did get me engaged and intense with this boss battle, and I really enjoyed those scenes. I wish there was another one, because 2 was just not enough. I wanted to keep running through those hallways away from King Boo. They should make a whole game mode about that, because man, that could be a fun, like, endless running mode.
Well, guess what? That ain't happening. I don't know, bro, this guy is just hilarious to me. And no, I'm not laughing because haha, he made a fun joke. No, I am basically laughing because of all the stupid shit he spits out. I am laughing because it's not funny.
But overall, for a quick verdict, I thought this game had its issues with its mansions here and there. The music wasn't anything special.
Luigi's Mansion 2's music, nothing special. Tell me any song from Luigi's Mansion 3 that holds up better than any piece of music from Luigi's Mansion 2 or even the first game. And it's not like Luigi's Mansion 3 has bad music, but if you let a person that has never played Luigi's Mansion before but is a Nintendo fan listen to any piece of music from Luigi's Mansion 3, it's very unlikely that they immediately recognize that it's Luigi's Mansion 3. With any piece of music from the first 2 games, it may be a higher chance because, let's be real here, Luigi's Mansion 3's music is not that memorable. Let's be real here. Luigi's Mansion 3 was more known for its animation and graphics, not for the music.
In the rush game mode, it has you and your teammates rushing through a mansion, going through doors, trying to find the exit. And once somebody finds it, everyone else has to get to that room. So you'll be using notifications like, hey, over here, in order to get everybody over there. Now, the problem with this is sometimes someone can get stuck. And if they get stuck, there's not a good way to tell people because you don't have a lot of prompts. And a lot of the time, your teammates just don't know what's going on. And I found a lot of times there was like 3 people waiting in a room at the finish line for me, yet I was stuck in another room and I needed help, but they didn't understand it. And I kept spamming help but they wouldn't come help. Personally, I felt like this game mode was definitely better alone because, goodness gracious, some of the players that I played with, they genuinely just did not know what to do.
Maybe get some friends next time, and I'll assure you, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna crash!
We all suck him at the same time.
It's gonna crash!
He's probably never had multiple people suck him at the same time. This is new for him.
I went into Luigi's Mansion 2 kind of upset because I remember this game not being the greatest. That mission structure really did slog the game down, and it didn't have that open-endedness that the first and third games did to an extent.
Bro, I swear to God, Breath of the Wild brainwashed modern game design and game criticism. Nothing against Breath of the Wild, but I'm just saying, not every game has to be open, because it will get boring after a while.
So the question is Luigi's Mansion 2 really that bad?
No!
Well, this game for
Oh
sure
my
could have
god,
been
dude, this
polished,
guy
at least
can't
the HD
stop
version on the
yapping.
Switch, but overall, Luigi's Mansion 2 probably should have just stayed on the 3DS as Dark Moon. I don't think we needed this game back, especially after coming off of such a massive high of Luigi's Mansion 3. This just wasn't the game that we needed.
Sure, it's ugly. Sure, it's not very good. Sure, nobody cares about it. Sure, A-5 completely killed this entire game, and therefore it doesn't deserve to be played on modern hardware. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And if you think this is just me making a video bullying this creator for a video that they made, no, I am just defending one of my favorite games of all time from some of these straight up lies told in this video. And also, if you take a look at the comments of the video, most people are actually defending Luigi's Mansion 2, and rightfully so. So Nintendo Land, never talk about Luigi's Mansion 2 again. Never let this man cook with Luigi's Mansion 2 again. And that's finally the end of this stupid video, bro. I am turning this shit off immediately. Get the fuck off my screen.